Well, hello, hello, hello. I am Mama Kibibi. My full name is Kibibi Ajanku. I am the founding director of the Sankofa Dance Theater, and I am an artist. I'm an artist that dances, that drums. I'm an artist that works with fabric and costuming. That's called fiber arts. Today, this class is West African tie and dye technique, and I am so happy that you are here with me. Well, today we are going to cover a few techniques steeped in West Africa. You know, our dye technique is coming from the country of Nigeria. Can everyone say that for me? Nigeria, very good. And our technique is a dye resist technique. What that means is that you have to do something to the fabric to make a most beautiful pattern. And when you do something to the fabric, that is the place where the dye does not enter. We'll talk more about it and you'll get to understand it. But in the meantime, our technique is called adire onikan. Adire onikan. That means tie and dye in the Yoruba language. Tie and dye. And that is what we are going to do. Well, before we get started, I always like a story. We're going to create our very own African village because this is West African tie technique. And by the time I finish the story, I'm sure that you will be able to imagine our very own African village. Listen carefully. Our story is called Why the Crab Has No Head. It's an African folk tale. It was Nzambe Mpungu who made the sky and the earth. And after that, my children, she made the guinea fowl and the crocodile, the turtle and the gazelle. She made the leopard and the lizard. And still she was not finished. She took one whole day to make the elephant, and that was indeed heavy work. The sun was setting that same day when Nzambi began on another animal, yet another animal. I will call this little one crab, she said, shaping a tough shell for the body and for each many jointed leg. She made not just 2 legs or 4, but 8 legs. Aye, but she was tired by the time she finished that very last leg. Little crab, she said to the new creature, I will finish you tomorrow. Come back in the morning when the sun is risen and I will give you a fine, fine head. And Nzambe went to lie down on her sleeping mat. Crab was so excited. Crab was so excited that he whispered to himself, tomorrow, a fine head. It took Nzambe only 1 day to create the elephant, but it's taking her 2 to create me. Cool. Now that was not exactly true, my children. You can see that, and I can see that. But Crab was too proud to see the truth that day. He told each animal that he met to come and see him get his head in the next morning. Warthog, buffalo, come tomorrow morning to the house of Nzambe and see the fine head that she will make me. She is taking all night to prepare it. Which was not exactly true, my children. You can see that, and I can see that, but Crab was too proud to see the truth that day. Bushbuck, guinea fowl, come tomorrow to the house of Nzambe and see the fine head she will give me. No doubt I shall have a mane like lions. a curling horn like kudzu, and surely a long, graceful neck like giraffe. How grand I am going to look. He scurried away importantly, walking almost sideways with pride. The next morning at sunrise, there was a great crowd at Nzambe's house. The whole Impala family was there because they were always very curious. The monkeys came to ready to laugh at Crab no matter how grand the head was going to look, and the lion came because he heard that Crab had dared to compare his new head to Lion's own magnificent mane. Vultures showed up in case there might be food, and the lizards arrived when the sun was warm on the walls where they liked to bask. All these animals made such a noise, scuffling and stamping and snorting, that Nzambe soon woke up and came outside. "Hi, why are you all here?" she asked when she saw the crowd. "Crab invited us," squeaked the youngest bush baby, who was quite thrilled by the whole occasion. "Where is the marvelous head you have made for him?" "And where is Crab?" grumbled Nzambe. Make way," cried the crab as he scuttled through the legs of the other animals, still feeling so important that he could scarcely walk straight. "I have come for my fine new head, Nzambe." But Nzambe looked sternly down at Crab. This little creature was not even complete. And already, he thought he was more important than all of the other creatures in the whole new world. She frowned and folded her arms strongly, then slowly shook her head. "No, Crab," said Nzambe at last. "I think you are just fine the way you are." Now that was perfectly true, my children. You can see that, and I can see that, but Crab could not see that. So Crab never did get his head. And to this day, whenever he wants to see, he has to poke his eyes way out of his shell, out of his body, and still he walks sideways. Only now it is from embarrassment instead of pride. Why the Crab Has No Head, by Barbara Nookson. Well, I'm sure that is just enough to put you in the mood. We are our very own African village, and by now I hope that you can see an imaginary hut in our background. Use your imagination. I see it. I hope that you can see a great big giant baobab tree right over there. I see it. Look here. And if you look in that direction, the palm trees are blowing in the breeze. Just a gentle breeze on a beautiful, warm, sunny day. Yes, banana tree just beyond that too. And there are goats. Yes, our village has plenty. It is a wonderful place. Now let's get back to this West African tie and dye. Yes, Adire Onikan. Adire Onikan is the Yoruba, is the way we say tie and dye in the Yoruba language from Nigeria, West Africa. Everyone say that. Adire Onikan from Nigeria, West Africa. The language is Yoruba. So we have been collecting over the past few days onion skins, and I hope that on your scavenger hunt you have found many onion skins, dried onion skins, just like this. We have also collected a very soft white cotton t-shirt. It can be pre-worn or it can be pre-washed. A white t-shirt, just any white tee will do. We have also rubber bands or clips like so to make our pattern. And we also have a very large pot. And that is what we are going to use to make our die vat. Now I'll come back and talk about that in a minute. Right now, we are going to concentrate on the design. So what I want everyone to do is spread their t-shirt flat. Flat, flat, flat. And I'm going to show you some practice designs on some practice scraps of paper. This first one is called the fan fold. And who has made a fan before? Out of a piece of paper. You fold that paper in and out and in and out. You hold the ends and then it can make a nice, wonderful breeze for you. But this time, we are going to use that folding design, that folding pattern to make a beautiful design. So you're going to fold your item in and out and in and out. You can either clip it or you can use bands. How do we fold it? You start at the very edge of your t-shirt. You can either start at the bottom or at the side, but you want to start at the edge and you want to fold in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out until you have a small, skinny little thing. Yes? And then what you will do is take your rubber bands and wrap them securely around that fold. Yes. That is one design. Rubber bands, and you keep going until you get all the way to the bottom. Sometimes you might want to space them out, or sometimes you want to have them very close. And this is what it looks like if you have them close. If you space them out, it's going to look like this. Fan fold. You can also use clips with this fan fold, like this. All right, the fan fold. Design number 1. Design number 2. Design number 2 is a sunburst. Oh, and the fan fold. When you are finished with it, you're going to get a design where you can see beautiful lines. You're going to get a design where you can see, yes. Now this is done with a blue, but you can see the design quite bold. And of course, you want to make a design on your pattern because, on your fabric, because, you know, one piece of fabric can be very beautiful by itself, but if you put a pattern on it, it's even more beautiful. This is with no design on the pattern, on the fabric, dipped in our dye vat. But if you put a pattern on it, if you create a pattern, that pattern is almost like a secret code. That pattern can help you just understand what's going on. Like this next one is called a sunburst. And it's done with a series of circles. Can you see my circles? A series of circles. Now, how do you get to those series of circles? You take your t-shirt and you lay it out very flat. Can you see my flat piece of fabric? My item is flat. You lay it out very flat, and then you find the center. Put your finger right there in the center and pinch right there. Use that pinky and that pointer and that thumb. Find the center, use the pin, and pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. And then use the other hand. Crinkle it down together. Yes. And then you're going to come back in with your rubber band and wrap it. Wrap it as tight as you can. Twist that rubber band around as many times as you can. Nice and tight. And you're going to wrap and wrap and wrap until you get all the way down to the bottom. You might want to, again, have your pattern very close together like this, or you might want to create lots and lots of space. Sunburst pattern. This is the way the sunburst pattern will look when you have it in the dye vat and then bring it out. Do you see that? You can see the sun. You can see the area in the middle, and the sun bursts out from there. This is a sunburst pattern. Adire onika. Well, we won't stop there. We could, but we won't, because I have a couple more beautiful, beautiful patterns, because I want you to have options. You might choose the fan fold, or you might choose the sunburst, or you might choose the spiral. Can you see this spiral? That spiral is so interesting. It goes around and around and around and around. Yes. And you make that spiral by finding again the center of your t-shirt. And that center is kind of sort of in the middle of where your belly is, up a little high, somewhere between your chest and your belly. So you're going to point to the center of that t-shirt and use those same pointer and thumb to pinch it. But you're not going to pick it up high. Right there, you're going to begin to make your spiral. You're going to twirl that t-shirt, and you're going to twirl that t-shirt, and you're going to grip and twirl that t-shirt, and grip and twirl that t-shirt until you get something that almost looks like a flower. Can you see it? Almost looks like a flower. Twirl that t-shirt, and once you finish twirling, like this right here, you're going to begin to wrap your rubber bands. You can use a lot of rubber bands right here. You can use one around the side, and they can go across the top in many different directions. I'm going to encourage you to use 5 to 10 rubber bands just to keep the swirl in place and make it wrap nice and tight. Now it looks like a bundle. It does. It looks like a big old bundle, and you don't look like it's going to be a pattern, but when you finish, it does create a very interesting pattern that almost is like a tornado, because you see it twirling and twirling and twirling, and all of the places that were exposed to the dye that weren't folded inside got that beautiful color. The beautiful color. That is the swirl pattern. Twirling and swirling and swirling and twirling. I have one more for you. I have one more really interesting one. Now this one takes a little bit more time and a little bit more patience, but it's quite beautiful. This is a polka dot pattern. Do you see my circles? So my circles are going to create a polka dot. How do I get those polka dots? Well, I start with my blank t-shirt, and I begin to pick a little bit up and wrap it with a rubber band. Just a little like nose kind of thing, a small, and wrap it with a rubber band. And then I pick another little bit up and I wrap it with a rubber band. And I keep going, I don't stop. I don't stop. It takes a little time, but it is so worth it. I don't stop until I've covered my entire piece of fabric. And you see, I've gone a little further with this. Can you see it? I see that I've gone a little further with this one. And here is what a finished piece looks like. This one has already gone in the dye vat. I've let it soak overnight. And right now we're going to reveal, let's find out what those polka dots look like. Yes, we're going to clip the bands off of it and we're going to find. Now I want to remind you young people that if you are working with scissors or anything that is sharp or hot, you need a parent. You need parents' permission and you need parents' help. So make sure that when you are working with something that is sharp or hot, that you are getting your parents to help you right along the way. And here we are. We've come to our polka dot design. Look at that. Look at that. The polka dot design. Yes? So beautiful. So interesting. It's almost like stars in the sky, don't you think? Like if you did it really small on a large piece, it would look like a sky with stars or planets. Oh my goodness, like planets in the sky. It's beautiful, don't you think? Now, that is 4 patterns. This next one is not a new pattern, but I'm going to tell you that you can blend more than one pattern and make a very interesting design as well. Right here with my paper, I've shown you that you can start with a fan fold on one side, the fan fold up there, and then I've done the starburst pattern down here. This is what it looks like on paper when you draw out the design, but if I wanted to do this with a piece of fabric, I could do it with clips. Yes, for those of you who have clips. And for this one, I've done the fan fold on each side and the starburst in the middle. For this one, I've done the fan fold from the corner, like on my paper, and the starburst from the other corner. And these things can go right in the dye vat, and we'll see what kind of beautiful patterns we can come up with. So let me remind you again what we need for the dye vat. The dye vat, you've had a scavenger hunt, and of course you have your t-shirt, you have your rubber bands or clips, you have your big pot, and you have your onion skin. Well, to make the dye vat, what you have done here this evening, this morning, this afternoon, today, what you've done is taken these onion skins, and these onion skins are going into a pot of water. That pot of water is going to be brought to a boil. You turn up the heat and let it boil, and then when it boils, you turn that heat down, 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 so that it just simmers and cooks for about an hour, right? For about an hour. Now, once you've come to that hour, you take a colander or a strainer and pour out the water from your dye vat. Remove your onions. This is what they look like when they come out. And the beautiful color that you will dye your fabric with looks like this. How beautiful. How beautiful. So once you've got this color to the side, you put your t-shirt in and you let it soak overnight. It needs a nice long time. Remember, you've cooked that dye vat and you've made that. It took about an hour to make it. And then you will strain off that water with your parents' help. You need an adult to help you because the water is cooking and it is hot. So I want everyone to be careful. I want you to make sure that you have an adult assist you, and then take your beautiful fabric, the designs, and you place them into your dye vat like so. And then I'll see you tomorrow. We'll get to reveal our magical, magical, magical design. Thank you very much. This is West African tie and dye. by Mama Kibibi for the Sankofa Summer Arts Experience by Sankofa Dance Theater.